welcome back to day 5 of Best in Beauty Week of 2018. So today I'm going to be sharing with you guys what my best bronzers, contours, blushes, and highlights were for 2018. And this right here is why I wanted to break this up into different categories, because I have so many favorite blushes and bronzers and highlights. It's just insane. So with the bronzers, with the single bronzers, I don't really have any matte bronzers with the single ones. They all have a little bit of a sheen to them. They're not shimmery, but they just have a sheen, so they're not matte. This first one, which has been a longtime favorite bronzer, this is the NARS Laguna. I didn't use this bronzer a whole lot this year, but I still used it on occasion, and it's still one of my go-to bronzers. I love this a little more in the winter months because it is a little bit of a lighter bronzer. It's not too warm toned, it's not too cool toned, and it's just a really good natural glow. And it's really good for anybody out there that's really pale. This is the L'Oreal True Match Lumi Bronze It. I discovered this bronzer at the beginning of the year, and I have hit major pan on this. Like, I use this bronzer so much, and I especially use this bronzer a lot in the winter, spring, and fall months when I'm more fair, because the shade of this is very cool toned. It's my most cool toned bronzer. It's even slightly a little bit more cool toned, or it's just a little lighter than NARS Laguna. But this bronzer is just so pretty. It just looks so natural, and it gives your skin a little bit of a glow. I'm wearing this bronzer today. Sometimes with matte bronzers, they can almost look unnatural because they're so matte, where this just gives your, it's just like a natural finish. The Physicians Formula Butter Bronzer in the shade Bronzer. This I tend to use a little bit more in the summer months because it is more warm toned than the L'Oreal bronzer. Once again, it's one of those bronzers, it just looks more like a natural skin finish, and it just blends super nice. And of course, it has that nice tropical scent to it. I know some people don't like the scent of these, but I like it. It reminds me of summer. And then the Wet n Wild Color Icon Bronzer in Ticket to Brazil. This is a very warm toned bronzer, and it is really light, but it's really strange because I normally just use this in the summer months. Definitely the warmest bronzer that I have from my single bronzer. So if you are extremely fair and you have more of a warm skin tone, this is a really good bronzer to use in the summer. I'm sorry. I think I need to drink some water. And then the only single contouring product that I have is this NYX Blush in Taupe. I ended up getting this sometime, I think, in the summer or beginning of fall. I was asking you guys what your favorite contouring product was, like drugstore contouring product, and so many of you guys recommended this to me. And this is such a great contour. As you can see next to those bronzers, it's definitely more cool toned and gives you like a shadowed effect. I use that today as my contour, but you need just the smallest amount of it. You don't need a lot of it, because if you put too much down, then it can look dirty or muddy. Now moving on to best contouring and highlighting palettes. These are the bronzers that I use when I want a matte bronzer, the ones that are in my contour and highlighting products, since I don't have any single matte bronzers. The e.l.f. contouring palette. You guys know that this is my holy grail contouring palette. Like, if all of my other ones disappeared, I would go out and get this one first. I love all the colors in here. I love this as a subtle highlight. I use this as my bronzer, that is my contour. Sometimes I'll use this to just kind of highlight underneath like my under eyes. I don't know if I have a little brush. Like, I'll just take a little bit of that and just brush it. You can also use that to like set your under eye concealer. And then sometimes I'll also use it too to help define like where I did the contour if I want like a super contoured look. The BH Studio Pro highlighting and contouring palette. This is so good. I discovered this at the beginning of the year, and this thing is so good for anybody out there that is light, fair to light. They have the right pigmentation to them. They're not too pigmented where it's super hard to work with. And also something else too that I forgot to mention with the e.l.f. contour palette, I also like to use these for eyeshadows. So sometimes like if you're traveling, you can just take this, and if you're not going to be doing anything super fancy, you can just use that as your eyeshadows as well. This is my favorite cream contouring and bronzing product. I just think it is so good. I love e.l.f.'s cream products. Like, they have some of the best cream products out there, even against high-end products. Like, they are so good. I use this shade for bronzing, and I use a little bit of this for contouring. I mainly just use like those two, but it is a really good cream product, which I want to do a tutorial soon using like all cream products, like a winter like makeup routine. These were my best matte blushes of 2018. The LA Girl blushes in Just Bare and Just Natural. I discovered these a few months ago, and I have been in love with these ever since. These blushes are such amazing quality. Like, it makes me want to go out and buy more of the LA Girl blushes. Like, they just blend out so nice. They are so smooth. Like, they're not powdery at all. They don't look patchy. They last all day long. And I love these two colors. This one in Just Bare is just a good natural, almost like a bronzer type of blush, but it's just so pretty. And then the one in Just Natural is kind of like my go-to everyday color type of blush. I love a good peachy pink blush like this. I just think it's so pretty. It just brightens up your complexion. You guys know how I feel about the Tarte blushes. I love this blush in Natural Beauty. This is one of my favorite blushes to use in the winter because it gives you like that nice rosy glow. So love that. And then this blush from Tarte in Expose. This is just another one of those natural, goes with anything type of blushes. Like, it's just so pretty. This is the Milani Rose Powder Blush in Tea Rose, and this is just my favorite matte rosy blush. It looks beautiful on the cheeks. And then when I want a good just bright bubblegum Barbie pink, this is my go-to. This is the Milani Baked Blush in I can never say it. Delizioso pink. I think that's how you say it. But it's just a beautiful bright pink, and this looks like a true pink on me. Like, it doesn't go like warm, it just stays like a bright bubblegum, whoop, a bright bubblegum pink. Moving on to my best satin blushes, because they're not shimmery, they're satin. Okay, the Milani Baked Blush in Luminoso. This has been a favorite, I think, since I started my YouTube channel. It's just such a beautiful coral blush. It just brightens up your complexion. It looks so beautiful in the summer whenever you have a tan. This is a new blush that I discovered in 2018, the Clinique Cheek Pop and Nude Pop. This is just a peach blush and a peach nude, and it's just a really beautiful everyday blush. And this is one of those blushes that it doesn't give, like, it's not a really strong color, it's just really subtle. So if you like a barely there like looking type of blush, just a blush that's going to warm up your complexion a little bit, this is a good blush for that. Another blush that I discovered this year, and this was more at the beginning of the year, but this is the Hard Candy Fox in a Box blush. It's actually their baked bronzer in Party Girl, but I use it as a blush. It's like the LA Girl blush in Just Bare. This just has a sheen to it where that blush is matte. Wet n Wild Color Icon blush in Rosé Champagne. I think this was probably my most used blush of the year. As you can see, I hit pan on it. This was just like my go-to everyday blush. I love this color. It's like a natural color, but with a slight bit of pink to it, because I'm wearing that blush today, and as you can see, like, it looks just slightly pink on me. Sometimes I feel like with these Wet n Wild Color Icon blushes, like, you kind of have to get that first layer off, and then they get really good once you get down into the blush. Like, right now, it's like such a good, like, soft, just super creamy blush. So love that. And then another blush that I discovered this year that I fell in love with, and this is a blush that's been around since who knows when, but this is one of the CoverGirl classic blushes in Soft Mink, And this is kind of like the Wet n Wild blush, but it's just more of a rosy tone. So, but it just has a nice like sheen type of finish, and it just looks pretty and rosy. I don't know, I just love it. The only thing is it has that sort of Noxzema sort of smell, but it doesn't really bother me because it brings me back to the 90s when I smell that, because in the 90s I used to use Noxzema. Did you guys use Noxzema whenever you were like in middle school and high school? So that's what it brings me back to when I smell it. So I don't hate it. I know some people don't like it, but now I'm gonna go ahead and move on to my best blush palettes for 2018. This is the Milani powder flower rose powder blushes. This is the palette in Floral Fantasy, and I tend to use this one over their other one that had more of the pinks in it. This has more of like the coral natural kind of peachy pink colors. These two colors that I use all of the time, and they're just super pretty. This is the BH Cosmetics Classic Blush 10 Color Blush Palette. And I discovered this palette at the beginning of the year, and I just love this. This works for so many different skin tones. I like to keep this in my freelance makeup kit to use on other people, but I also love this on an everyday basis as well. It has just some really pretty everyday blush colors. They have good pigmentation where they're easy to build up. They're super smooth, super easy to blend out. They don't look patchy, they last all day. So now we're moving on to highlights, and I have several different categories for highlights. So this first category is natural highlights. The Essence Pure Nude Highlighter and the Laura Mercier Matte Radiance Baked Powder in Highlight 01. The Laura Mercier is just slightly a little lighter than the Essence one. I just love these. Like, they just give your skin a nice like glow from within. They're not too like blinding. They just look super natural. So like on days when I don't want like a super intense highlight, I reach for these. And those were the only two that I had for like natural colored highlight, like, you know, not super blinding highlights, more natural. So this next category, I have intense highlights and super intense highlights. So these are just intense highlights. So my e.l.f. baked highlighters in Blush Gems and Moonlight Pearls, these have been longtime favorites for me. Like, I've just loved these for so long. I'm surprised that I haven't hit pan on this one yet. It's probably because, you know, I have so many highlights that I don't use this as much as I used to, but this is just a really beautiful rose gold, but it's not too rose gold where, you know, I can't wear it, because sometimes if highlights have too much color to them, I can't wear them. Like, they just look like a blush on me. This one in Moonlight Pearls is just a really beautiful cream highlight. Another intense highlight that I discovered this year, the Diorskin Nude Air Luminizer, and this is in the color 002. This is just a pretty intense pink highlight, and this one doesn't show texture. Like these other two, the e.l.f. ones, they can show texture just a little bit, but the Dior one doesn't show any texture at all, so love that. And then two other intense highlights that I discovered this year that I fell in love with, the Wet n Wild Megaglo highlighting bar in Earth and in Air. So Earth is more a neutral gold color. This also doesn't show texture on me. When I want a super intense highlight, but I don't want to have to worry about it showing any texture, I reach for that. And then this one in Air is like a gold pink. Those are my best intense highlighters. These are my favorite super intense. So this highlight came out more towards like the beginning of the year, springtime, but the Anastasia Amrezy highlight, which I think that they re-released this, so I think you can get this again. I know for a while there you couldn't get it, it was limited edition. When I want a super intense gold highlight, this is what I reach for, and I like to apply this with a dampened sponge, because I find that if I apply it that way, I don't have to worry about it showing texture, and it just looks super intense and super blinding. And then if you want a cheaper dupe to that, this does show a little bit more texture than the Amrezy highlight, but the Pixi by Petra in Subtle Sunrise, like this gold shade right here, this is super, super intense, super blinding, really beautiful. And then the Delicate Dew Pixi by Petra. This is just a really intense pink highlight. So it's like the same, you know, formula as the Subtle Sunrise. This just broke. I swear, that's the bad thing about Wet n Wild packaging. I feel like after you've had it for about a year, it's like the little hinges just break. This is just hanging on by the sticker. But the Wet n Wild Mega Glow Highlighting Powder in Blossom Glow. Super intense pink highlight. I think it's even more intense than the Pixi by Petra. Like, it's just such a beautiful highlight, and I don't find that this shows like a lot of texture on me. And then my last favorite super intense highlight is the Ofra highlighter in Pillow Talk. And this highlight, this is just the most beautiful highlight on super fair skin. Like, I'm wearing this highlight today, and whenever I first got this, I was using it a lot and I just loved it. I got this back in the summer and I just fell in love with it. And then, you know, obviously I bought other highlighters, so then I kind of put it away and I wasn't using it. And then I just started using it again recently, and I was like, why did I stop using this? Because it is gorgeous. So super beautiful highlight. Like, if I had to just recommend one out of all these super intense highlights, get the Ofra Pillow Talk. It's so good. This next category is colored highlights, because I know that this year was like the trend of colored highlights, prismatic amethyst, and you know, those types of highlights. So speaking of prismatic amethyst, that was one of my favorite colored highlights. I can't wear every single colored highlight out there. Sometimes they just look a little weird on me because I'm so fair. But this one doesn't look strange at all. It's a really pretty pink. It looks more pink on me than it does purple, but it's such a beautiful highlight. And I love to use this whenever I do like a purple makeup look or something like that, when I just want to add, we'll let this person pass. Like, I just don't understand. It's like drag racing. Gets on my nerves so much. Forgot what I was saying. But yeah, it just adds a pop of something different. So I love this. And then when I want a super purple highlight that still looks nice, is this Milani Beaming Light Hypnotic Lights highlighter. And this is the one that looks purple on me. Maybe on some people this would look blue, but it's definitely a purple highlight. So as you can see next to Prismatic Amethyst, like, it definitely looks more purple. And then another pink highlighter that I like, and this is kind of a dupe to Prismatic Amethyst. It's not an exact dupe, but the Essence Pure Nude Space Lighter. It's like a white highlight with like a pink shift to it. And this is a little bit more natural, a little bit more wearable if you know, have more mature skin, but you still want to try to venture out into these colored highlights. And then this Essence Pure Nude Cosmo Lighter. This is just a really different green highlight, which I don't use this all the time, but if I do want something different, I do like this because it's like a gold green, and you can still get away with it. Like, it doesn't look too crazy, like, especially when you're looking straight on, like, you don't notice it, but then when you turn, it like catches the light and you just see, like, you know, a different color. So it's really cool to experiment with these colored highlights whenever you do like a colored, you know, eyeshadow. So like if I do a green eyeshadow look, it's kind of cool to pair this with that, because whenever you have the green eyeshadow, it, you know, you can tell that the highlight is green, but it's not as stark as if I would pair it with just like a neutral eye like this. It's gonna really pop. So that's kind of a good way to wear colored highlights where it's not too super out there. My last category is highlighting palettes, and I have two favorite highlighting palettes. I swear that guy in his car, he must get off at like 3 o'clock or 3:30 in the afternoon, and when he gets off from work, he drives up and down this road, my road, like 3 or 4 times, just like revving his car. I don't know, I guess he's just super proud of his car. But it's just really annoying for me when I'm trying to film. the Makeup Revolution, I think this is called Incandescent highlighting palette. I'm not sure because it doesn't say on the packaging, but this is, I would have grouped this with super intense highlights, but I wanted to do a separate category for my highlighting palettes. But these highlights, they're so intense, but they are super beautiful. They don't show texture, and they're just gorgeous. Another highlighting palette that is my favorite and I fell in love with this year is the CoverGirl True Blend Super Stunner palette, and it's lit. And I don't use this shade very much, but these two shades I use all the time. They're just really pretty, just natural, like natural colored highlights. I mean, they don't look natural on, but they're natural, you know, and they don't show texture. They're super intense, just really beautiful. And like the formula is just super, just creamy. I don't know. I just absolutely love those. You guys all have to let me know down in the comments what your best bronzers, highlights, and blushes were for 2018. If you are new, please don't forget to subscribe. If you did enjoy this, please give this video a thumbs up. Don't forget to turn on your notifications so you don't miss any videos from me. And I will see you guys in tomorrow's Best of Beauty video. So yeah, I'll see you guys tomorrow. Mwah.
In about 5 minutes, I'm a self-destruct. About 5 minutes, I'm a self-destruct. About 5 minutes, I'm a self-destruct. About 5 minutes, I'm a self-destruct.